And well. Welcome back to New York Sports, WickerMedia. I'm Wa2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. So the New York Mets just finished off a 5-1 victory over their arch rival Philadelphia Phillies. Mets have won 6 straight games for the second time this season, and we're only 3.5 weeks into the season. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. They sweep St. Louis 4 straight games. They win the first 2 games against Philadelphia tonight. And the final game of this homestand will be Wednesday afternoon. Mets are going to try to make it a perfect 7-0 on this homestand. But I want to come on here, and it's right now April 22nd. So the season's been going on about 3 to 4 weeks, about 4 weeks at this point. And it's amazing what the starting rotation has done for this team. You know, coming into the season, most fans and media members would have said that the strength of the Mets is their offense, and it makes sense. You bring in Juan Soto, and you bring back the majority of your starting lineup, a few small changes here and there, but for the most part, it's most of the same lineup as last year. The question was the starting rotation. You lost Luis Severino. You lost Jose Quintana. Also, seanmanaea is injured, and he re-injured his oblique. The expectation is he should be back maybe about late May. That's about the latest news that I've heard. But they're going to take it slow with him since he's already had one setback. So going into the season, you have a starting rotation. Just think about this. Clayholmes, a converted reliever. Griffincanning, who I believe had about the worst ERA in Major League Baseball last year. tylormegill, who is pretty much the definition of inconsistency. Good for a few starts, falls apart the next couple of starts. Then you have Kodaisenga, who 2 years ago was a fantastic pitcher. You know, got a bunch of Rookie of the Year votes, some Cy Young votes as well, but was injured pretty much all of 2024, had one start in the regular season, that was it. And the playoffs, very, very up and down, to say the least. And then David Peterson. Maybe he was the most trustworthy starter at that point, because last year he really seemed to have his breakout season after undergoing hip surgery. But you look at this and it's like, well, okay, maybe if Senga, who really needs the extra rest to really be at his best, if he could pitch well, that's fine. But these other guys, you're looking at back at the rotation starters. Well, that is not the case whatsoever. And don't forget Frankie Montas, who they signed. He got hurt during spring training as well. Well, how about it now? Maybe David Stearns actually knows what he's doing. Through nearly a full month of the regular season, the Mets starters have an ERA of 2.29. That's more than a full run better than the next best National League team, the Cincinnati Reds. Think about it. The Reds, they're about a 3.37, I believe. That's second in the National League. The Mets are at 2.29. It is amazing what we have watched. And credit to David Stearns, credit to Carlos Mendoza, and credit to Jeremy Hefner, the pitching coach. Clayholmes, he gets better by the start, and he's still adjusting to this. You know, he's been a reliever for so long that his body and mind are still adjusting to getting into that regular rhythm of being a starting pitcher. David Peterson, hey, still giving you the lane, giving you about 6 innings pretty much every time. Griffincanning, who got the win tonight against Philadelphia. As I said, he was one of the worst major league pitchers last season. This year, he's been one of the best. His sequencing is better. He's changed his pitch mix a little bit. Again, the pitching lab. How do the Mets not have pitching lab t-shirts out already? Right? They should be selling pitching lab shirts. I'm surprised the 7 Line hasn't started doing that. You know, maybe, pay us to go visit the pitching lab. I'd go. And I can't pitch to save my life. My gosh. But Canning, against a very good Philadelphia lineup, there was one point he allowed 3 consecutive one-out hits in the second inning, and that was about all he really gave up. Only 5 innings. I know it's not the length that you ideally want, and people will say, well, that could burn out the bullpen. Well, you know what? Bullpen's been doing their job too, and if it's 5 innings, 1 run against Philadelphia, you know what? I'm signing up for it. But I want to spend a minute here on tylormegill as well. McGill always seemed like that guy who's trying to reinvent himself pitch by pitch on the mound. Maybe he would give the Mets 3-4 effective innings, and that was it. It seemed like a lot of Met fans thought he'd be best suited to be a reliever, and I was willing to give it a chance too. He's got a hard fastball, a sharp breaking pitch, but not much else. But we're seeing a different pitcher this year. He still has a lot of moving parts with his delivery, and he needs to locate his secondary pitches a little bit better. But he has really reduced his repertoire. He's really a four-seam fastball, a sinker, a slider, and he can use the curveball and change if he needs to use them. He's eliminated the cutter and the sweeper entirely. What McGill needed was sort of a bread and butter, a pitch he could really trust, one or two pitches he could really trust. You know, it's just focus on a few things you do well. Don't try to be like an all-you-can-eat buffet. You know, if you're doing like burgers really well, focus on the burgers and stop trying to make your pizza good. You know, not that I go to a restaurant that has burgers and pizza all that often, but that's another story. But now that he's established his identity, refined his arsenal, he has better command, he's more efficient. And here's the results. Here's all you need to know. McGill has a 1.09 ERA, fourth best in Major League Baseball, second best in the National League, only to Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who has a 0.93 ERA. That's as of, I think, 2 days ago. I think that was as of Monday. And then you look, and I wanted to emphasize him just to show how the Mets are able to bring these pitchers in and just turn nothing into something. They did it last year. They did it this year as well. You know, Luis Severino got paid very well because of it. Seanmanaea got paid very well because of it as well. And back to Kodaisenga. So he has pitched 4 games so far. His last game was on Saturday afternoon through just under 6 innings against the Cardinals in a 3-0 win. His ERA is at 0.79. He allowed 4 runs, 2 of which were earned in his first start of the season on April 1st. Since then, he has thrown 18 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. His whip is 0.97. That's the best among Mets starters by a large margin. And Senga, you know, people are talking about, yeah, the Mets have some good pitchers, but do they have that go-to pitcher in the big spot? I continue to argue it's Kodaisenga. I will continue to argue it again and again and again. He might need rest. He might be delicate at times, but when he's on, there's few pitchers in the world that can match what he does. And not to jump too far ahead, not to jump ahead 5.5 months, but it's a great problem that the Mets could have, you know, settling on a playoff rotation. They have 5 starters right now who are all doing their job, 2 more coming in later on in the year, and then that doesn't even include the minor leagues where you have Brandon Sproat, for instance, Blade Tinwell, who's been pitching a lot better this year. Dom Hamill's been looking pretty good in AAA also. And then you got to settle on 4 for the playoffs. Man, oh man, I can't remember the last time it's been this exciting to be a Mets fan. You know, has everything gone perfectly? No. I mean, you know, Juan Soto is not taken off quite the way we had hoped as of just yet. You know, other players, you know, are kind of mucking along, and certain players have been injured. McNeil, Alvarez, though they should be back in the next couple of days. But it just gets you that much more excited if you're a Mets fan. If they're winning this often, if they're doing this well, they're 17-7 right now. Okay, if they're this good now, my God, what will they be like when the offense really gets going? You know, the pitching doesn't have to keep up like this. I mean, my God, not just the rotation, but the bullpen as well. This is a deep, deep bullpen. And then you throw in the manager, who I think may turn out to be one of the best managers this franchise has ever had. And it really feels like the start. Last year was the start of a new era for Mets baseball. And 2025 so far is only serving to validate it. So it is an exciting time to be a Mets fan. Hey, you got some thoughts? Let me know. Let me know what you think of the pitching rotation or any thoughts about the Mets that you have right now. Reminder, join me live Wednesday night, 6 p.m. for the Wednesday night live show. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair.